This is Will. You are now listening to Five Guys Movies and Friends. The movie we're going to discuss today is Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. I am joined today by Joe.
Hey there.
And Mr. Knack.
Hello.
So this movie is pretty crazy. I remember seeing this when I was a kid, and I think this was the second Ghibli movie I saw, and the first one was Princess Mononoke.
Technically not a Ghibli movie, Will.
Technically not a Ghibli movie. Yes, I found that out when I was looking at the Wikipedia.
Really? Why?
It was just before Ghibli existed. This was the first movie that Miyazaki made, I believe, based on his own manga, actually, that he wrote back in 1982.
Oh, wow.
It's set in like the post-apocalyptic. I think it's just Earth, right? Like they don't.
I think so.
Say, yeah, and basically. 1,000 years in the past, some huge giant warriors destroyed civilization, and it created this humongous toxic jungle that's like a poisonous forest swarming with giant mutant insects. I'm just reading that straight off the wiki. And it kind of just follows Nausicaa, who's a princess of the Valley of the Wind, and her kind of little journey throughout the movie. It goes some pretty crazy directions, I feel. Not like too out of bounds, but it's. I didn't feel like I could really tell exactly what was going to happen next. So.
Yeah, she was a princess. I thought
Yes.
The woman who looked like her was the princess.
Yes, I believe that she is the princess of the Valley of the Wind, and then the other lady was the princess of Pajit or whatever.
Okay, gotcha.
And then there's also Princess Kushana, who leads the Tolmekian troops, the ones who invade the valley. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Nausicaa is a princess. Let me make sure.
Well, she fulfilled some kind of prophecy at the end, and that kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah, because
they didn't allude to it before. They didn't really allude to like a prophecy before.
Yeah, it was very very loosely alluded to by the witch of the village, and they say it's going to be like some kind of blue-robed man, and then it ends up being Nausicaa. So
Obama.
Quite a twist. Obama.
That's what I thought they were saying, but it's Obaba.
Obama, yeah.
Okay.
Not the former president of the United States of America.
No, he wasn't involved with this picture.
I don't believe so.
Double check.
We should look into that. Yeah.
0 out of 10.
0 out of 10. Movie's garbage.
No political agenda.
How dare we watch something without one? Yeah. Do you guys want? Usually, the person who picked the movie doesn't go first, right? Like it's
usually they go last.
This is really good content here, by the way.
Yeah.
Joe, why don't you take it away?
Oh boy. Well, I got thoughts on this movie. Not really. I don't really have too many strong opinions.
It was a movie.
It's a children's movie, Will.
Oh my God!
I don't like.
How dare you? The podcast is over.
And these movies kind of are confusing to me because the plot just doesn't follow conventional plot structures for what I'm used to. That's one thing that kind of deters me from getting super into anime and these Ghibli movies.
I could see where you're coming from. Yeah, they definitely are a little ramshackle. Like they kind of just do their own thing. But I kind of like that about them. I think that's part of their charm.
Yeah. One thing that I don't like, and obviously it's because it's a children's movie, is that the good characters are just plucky, good characters who always want to do good, and the bad characters are just nakedly evil.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty simplistic, and I mean, I'm sure you'll have thoughts on like what the message of the movie is, because it went over my head, or it's just that the good characters were good, the bad characters are bad, and they want to destroy the insects.
Environmentalism. That's the plot.
Yeah.
That's the message. I did want to say I can see where you're coming from for sure with like the good and the bad being pretty like black and white. I did like how I think it was Pajit, like the people of Pajit, after they all got fucking destroyed, then they're also like doing pretty evil things to try and save their own people and get the giant warrior for themselves. Because the Pajit are the people of Pajit. They're the ones who have the little flying contraption thing that's carrying the baby Ohm at the end, or what? Ohm? Yeah, they're called Ohms.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
it's kind of like they got kind of fucked up by the Tolmekians, but then they're also like they're kind of the good guy because of that. But I guess not really because they're also doing their own shady shit. Well, not shady, but evil.
Right. So maybe there is more depth to these movies than I'm probably giving them credit for. It's just I feel like I'm out of my element talking about it. But one thing I will say that I do love about them is they're just visual masterpieces. Like the animation just looks so cool. And this one I felt like had some really good music in it.
Yes.
Really good music cues. Every time I go to have you guys ever been to arcade or what's it called? Up Down? Any of those
Yeah,
arcades?
yeah. Up down is absolute fun. Totally.
Yeah. Every
Where's that
time I
at?
go there,
Minneapolis. I think it's not. It's uptown Minneapolis. I think.
yeah.
Oh, okay, nice.
It's
It's,
an arcade and bar and restaurant, I think, too. But anyway, every time I go there, there's like 100 TVs in there, and they're always playing a Ghibli movie or Cowboy Bebop or something.
Nice.
And I just like the aesthetic. Like I can really appreciate, you know, the aesthetical appreciation aspect of these movies. It's just sitting down to watch them. I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah, this they definitely most of them are definitely a little dry at points, and they'll have like you can tell that like this was before people had really figured out for animation how to keep them kind of snappier, like newer animated movies and stuff. They definitely have points where they drag. And even my favorite one, Princess Mononoke, there's like a good like 10 minutes of just like kind of walking through the forest shit. It's like that's great and it looks gorgeous, but yeah, I can definitely see what you mean.
I
Now,
did.
I didn't get a chance. I didn't get around to watching both languages of the movie. Um, was it? I'm guessing that it's. I'm guessing that there wasn't any difference between the two versions other than the voices. There was
So
no musical difference. There, I'm just curious. I don't know if either of you
I'm
watched both
pretty sure
languages.
they. I'm pretty sure they are, unless anyone watched the Warriors of Wind version, which is the Harvey Weinstein cut.
Oh,
yeah, I did not. We all watched it on HBO. I'm pretty sure. So
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
and that was like the good version with pretty much the OG audio except for English voices. I'm pretty sure, and
That's what I was picking up. Good. Okay.
it from what I could remember from the last time I saw it, which was back like I don't know, like 7 or 8 years ago, it seemed pretty much exactly the same as that version I had watched. So, and that version, I'm pretty sure, yeah, is like the good one. So, yeah, I don't know. I liked the audio in it too. I thought it was, especially the music was pretty damn decent. So,
oh
Absolutely.
yeah, really great music. Like I watched this last night, and I was kind of doing other stuff when I was watching it. Sorry, Will.
it's
And
whatever.
and I really appreciate it just because, like, having it on in the background, it's a nice aesthetic. And then
hmm
I watched it tonight, and I sat down and actually watched it, and I didn't care for it all that much. But I will say, maybe it's just that it's an early Ghibli in quotes movie because I remember really liking Spirited Away just because it's so surreal. It's like and there's sort of like an Alice in Wonderland aspect to it where she goes into a crazy world and weird
Yep.
things just keep happening.
Yeah, this is definitely a bit before he had reached his stride, and that's part of the reason why I kind of wanted to do it because, like everybody knows, like Spirited Away is a phenomenal movie. Howl's
Yeah.
Moving Castle also fantastic. Princess Mononoke, and then some of his newer movies have been just bangers too. Like I think The Wind Rises is that one of them, like where like it's about the planes. I think you'd really like that one, Joe. It's a little dry at points, but like just the subject matter and kind of like how surreal it is extremely well done.
The Wind
Um,
Rises.
I think that's the one. It's about like the guy who designed the like really famous Japanese plane that was used in World War II, I believe.
Oh, it's historical.
Yeah, it's like pretty. I think it's like loosely historical and like it doesn't get like very much fantasy to it, but there's a lot of like really surreal dream sequences and stuff, and it's pretty fantastic. And also hits you in the feels real good.
Yeah, I feel like, he's got the animation, the voice acting's pretty good too, the music's great. Just needs a really good story, and then you got a movie.
Yeah,
But at the same time, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, maybe I just am not primed to appreciate this kind of storytelling. And
you
there's.
you aren't, but that's okay,
Okay.
Joe.
Okay. You should have warned me.
No, you're good. You're good, man. um, yeah, and just as far as like the visual aesthetics, like you were saying earlier, I have to agree. They're just fantastic. This movie, especially out of all of his movies, in my opinion, it just captures the kind of weirdness of like a post-apocalyptic world so well. Um, and just all the monster design and everything is fantastic. And the fact that this is based off of like a manga that he wrote too, it just lends even more credence to the idea that this guy is just a fantastic animator and artist. I mean, being able to come up with some of those insect designs, they're just beautiful and freakish and just otherworldly for sure.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that Ghibli, that dude, he's got that down pat, creating otherworldly weird stuff
Yeah,
like
I
that.
feel like this movie was really influential to video games. Like
Yeah,
Final Fantasy or something. Because
yeah,
it came before that, I think.
I think so. It's
84.
1984,
And this is sort of like a steampunk or diesel punk setting.
pretty much. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say so. Oh, and this is not actually his first movie because his first movie was Lupin 3: The Castle of Cagliostro, which is which is a fantastic movie too, albeit a little look pretty goofy, but
Ah,
that I don't know if you guys ever watched any of the Lupin
no.
things. They basically just follow like a thief who like a famous world famous thief who's kind of goofy and kind of kind of objectifies women. It was the old days, okay.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't as problematic back then. um, but yeah. Anyways, 1982. Yeah, I think that predates pretty much like all the fantasy video games and stuff like that.
Yeah, it seems like it. Did you guys know who which member of Star Trek was in this movie for the English
Yeah.
cast?
Oh yeah,
Patrick Stewart.
You caught that one.
yeah. Captain Picard. That's Lord Yupa.
I
As soon
didn't
as
catch it, but I recognized the voice and makes
yeah,
a lot of sense, yeah.
I know. As soon as I heard that voice, I was like, "Oh, I know who that is. Who the fuck is that?" And then I looked up the voice cast, and I was like, "It's my man.
Yeah.
It's Capitan."
Yeah, I'd seen the voice cast lineup before seeing the movie. At least noticing uh, Patrick Stewart and uh, Shia.
Yeah,
Shia
Shia
LaBeouf.
LaBeouf. Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know he was in this.
yeah.
Who
He
was he?
plays the guy who crash lands that she goes and
Oh,
saves.
that guy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
There's one thing I don't like about anime in general. It's that the girl's always sort of like a plucky hero, and the guy is always like a dim guy who just loves food and stuff like that. It's like you
Yeah.
could just change out any of these characters from any of these movies.
Yeah. They
Too
didn't really fail
archetypical.
you on that one. That pretty much applies here. Although I did write down a few times like holy shit, Nausicaa's such a badass. Like she's so capable and selfless and strong. And I really liked that even back in 1982, and maybe this because it's Japanese.
84.
84. I really liked that they had like a strong female lead like that who's not just Oh,
I
she's a
don't know.
princess, but she's not a weak princess. She's kind of a total fucking badass in this movie.
At the same time, they got lucky a bunch of times. Like they could have just died in that quicksand, but there happened to
True.
be nothing below them. Like what was some of the moments where she was badass?
Oh, I don't know. Just watching her fly around, and like she's just very capable, and like I don't know, like she does a bunch of like I don't know. She just like when the when the Tolmekians like invade and she like fights
Just gonna
them.
say, yeah,
Yeah,
when the Tomekians invade and coming at the king, and she's all over the place.
she
She's
takes on like 10 of them and just fucks them up.
Yeah.
She's a fucking badass. And so I like that that they had a kind of a strong female lead like that because not a lot of movies back then would have done that. You know.
Alien.
Yeah, I was literally thinking the same thing. Like, oh yeah, Alien, yeah, but that. There's not a lot. There's not very
No,
many
that's a
of
good
them back
point.
then.
Ripley is a fucking milestone of a female lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did
Lead,
Alien
period.
come out?
79, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you're
so
right,
that might have
79.
influenced Miyazaki on right when he wrote the manga and then did the
I
movie
hope
too.
so.
It says down here that it was inspired by a range of works including Earthsea, Hot House, Isaac Asimov's Nightfall, and Lord of the Rings. And I could definitely see a fair amount of those.
The first chapter of the manga was published in 82, and it was
Okay.
written over a period of 12 years. So
Whoa.
I would believe that he didn't need Ripley's inspiration to.
He already had this all figured out, yeah.
For sure.
That's
yeah.
cool. That's really cool.
What do you think about this movie, Knack?
I really enjoyed this movie. This was only my second, maybe third Ghibli movie, or Miyazaki movie. I've seen Spirited Away, and I may have watched Princess Mononoke, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, I feel like we watched that, but we may have been inebriated
Yeah, it's not all
and
there
under
for
the
it.
influence.
But I really liked the just the kind of the blend of it's not so much a blend of animation styles, but seeing how just how stunning and beautiful the setting and like the main characters are, and then these fucking grotesque, scary ass creatures just destroying everything in their path. Like it seemed like I'm just seeing two worlds really fucking conflict with each other when I see like an ohm on the fucking screen. I love the way that those two just kind of contrast, but fucking
Yeah.
that was great. And just also the scene where, because I feel like I am watching a young adult's movie, but it's 1984, and like I still enjoy. I have a big love for animation, and but most of the time when I see the art style, I feel like I'm a kid. I feel like I'm watching I feel like a kid again in a
Yeah.
way. And then seeing a scene like where the Tolmekian fucking aircraft just crashes devastatingly in the fucking valley. I'm like, holy shit. I need to really buckle up for what this movie's about to deliver. That was a great scene. Just a really powerful scene, seeing that Tolmekian ship go down. Like, holy fuck, I was not expecting it to be this chaotic this early in the movie.
Yeah, and just to cut in here, I feel like that's part of what I loved about those early Ghibli movies when I was a kid, because like, yeah, you'd watch, your Disney movies and everything, you'd be like, oh, these are like good, but like as a kid, like as a 10, 12, 14-year-old boy, you're just like, or girl, I don't know how it is for women, obviously, I can only speak from my own experiences, but like I'd be watching these movies and then I'd be like, oh, these are like fine, whatever, and then I'd watch like Princess Mononoke, and there's like brutal scenes in that movie where like people's heads are getting cut off by like arrows and shit, and like and then as a kid you're like, holy fucking shit, like this is way more over the top, but they still were considered children's movies, which was maybe not correct, but hey, it worked out for me because I got to watch all this sweet shit when I was a kid, and now I'm horribly addicted to all things.
I mean, there's so many crazy things that were geared towards kids back then. I mean, fucking Ren and Stimpy exists. Fucking like,
oh yeah.
Anyway, but
because there wasn't as much like limitations on animation stuff, because they could kind of just get away with shit. It seems.
It was the Wild West. Yeah.
Was the Wild West, yeah. And thank God indeed. Yeah,
But I can totally see how, like, seeing almost any of these movies as a child, your eyes would just be like saucer plates glued to the fucking screen watching
yes.
these movies. I can only imagine the power and fucking enchantment that these films had on
Oh, dude.
actual youth, you know.
Absolutely. And when you're a kid, you know, like yeah, you could have watched like a post-apocalyptic movie when you're a kid, but it wouldn't hit the same way as like an animated movie set in a post-apocalyptic world. Because animation is kind of the it's kind of like the medium that you've been spoken through. Does
Yeah,
that
yeah.
make sense? You know, like because a lot of what you see as a kid is just
It
animated.
calls out to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
hits you different, whatever
So
you want to
then
call it.
you watch these movies and it's like it's really hitting you hard. And I don't know, that's like Joe was mentioning earlier, like this is like a children's movie. And I don't know if I would necessarily characterize most of his movies as children's movies. Like they definitely are considered that by a large part of the pop, like the people who watch them and stuff, or at least they're like rated that way. But I don't know, these movies get pretty hardcore, and especially in some of their theming and stuff, they get pretty messy.
Yeah, I feel like a good children's movie has something for children and adults in it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's a lot of what even today's, or the, you know, this generation's, well,
The
not
ones
this
that are really
generation,
good.
but yeah, just even in the past 20 plus years, Disney, Pixar, they've been trying to make movies, family, you know,
Yeah,
aimed, family fucking oriented movies.
they've got jokes that the kids can't pick up on, but like the adults. Yeah, sorry, the adults have jokes for them in the movie, but then like the kids can't pick up on those jokes. So
Some will.
yeah, right.
I loved how uh the kings and Lord Yoba's mustaches took up their entire faces. Those mustaches are just so
Yeah.
gigantic.
Yeah, great mustaches for sure.
Um, I sadly didn't take a whole lot of notes for this, but for the film, but I definitely do want to watch it again. Actually, I do want to.
Well, we got a review in from our friend Jeff Molander. I can read it for you. He says,
Bring it.
I'm not often a fan of anime. Plot lines and characters are usually pretty basic / black and white in my experience. This movie was unfortunately not an exception to that for me. I do really like the art / illustration. I just wish that the characters were better fleshed out and that the events of the movie were less predictable. The world building was also severely lacking for my taste in a fantasy setting.
Classic
So
hot
you know,
take
his
from,
That,
from
I was
Molander.
gonna say that's pretty up to par with his
it's kind of in line with
feedback.
my opinion, to be
Fair.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't agree with any of it, but
Well, I might
I may be biased because I
I
love
would
this
like
movie.
to
So.
emphasize just a little more that the art and illustration, you know, obviously takes so much work to make, and it's really beautiful. And I don't really agree that it was super predictable. Um, and I like the world building. I like apocalyptic, diesel punk, fantasy stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I can't really call many movies predictable because, especially in like an animated film like this, my visual perception is occupied. My visual, I like, I'm kind of busy looking at the animation and yeah, actually trying to listen to what's going on without actually trying to think too far ahead. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that's preventing me from making predictions as to what's going to happen. I just maybe I'm unintentionally keeping myself open to the element of surprise that way. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind predicting. Like if I'm watching a movie and I predict what happens, I'm not really disappointed. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And,
There you go.
And I'd argue that I highly doubt that he was able to predict what was going to happen in this movie. There's like so many times where like just random shit occurs. Like there's no way that you could know that as soon as they go in the quicksand, they're going to fall into like an ancient like
Well,
fossilized forest. Like, I don't know.
I predicted that they were going to fall through, like, once they for sure weren't going to dig themselves out of that situation.
Yeah, I
But
suppose
I don't hate that. It's just what happened.
because the main characters can't die.
Because
Yeah,
yeah, because they're the
they
main
do have plot
characters.
armor for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you guys don't have anything else to say, I'll take over a little.
Yeah.
You guys know I always got shit to say. Yeah, I don't know. I like I said earlier, I love this movie. This movie, Princess Mononoke. There was like a couple other Ghibli movies were like my childhood. The old like the original Transformers movie that's like super fucking crazy. Where like this huge planet eating thing is like going around eating planets. I think that's like the plot of that movie, right?
I've never seen it, but I know that's Orson Welles' last movie.
Yeah, that movie is sick as fuck, dude. But like all those movies, they really those were kind of my childhood, and definitely how I was introduced to like this kind of animation and stuff like that. And I don't know, they all really sat with me, and yeah, and kind of like how Knacker was saying, like when I watch these older movies, especially, it really brings me back to my childhood. It feels like that old type of animation and kind of like the sound effects and stuff that they used back then. They're kind of crackly and not perfect, and they don't really match up as well as sound effects nowadays. But that's kind of part of the charm, right? Like it makes it feel more otherworldly and strange in its own way. I mean, when they're in like Pajit, for instance, and um, they're just like sitting up on some kind of like stairway thing or something, and then like the music does this like crazy sting where it's just like really weird sounding. That like really sums up how weird the audio can be for some of these older movies.
Yeah. These movies are definitely a time capsule of how they did sound effects and hand drawn animation and things like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and that was another thing that I wanted to talk about was just like, god damn, that animation is good, especially for back then. I mean, that's almost 40 years ago, right? And yet it still looks that good. And obviously, like, it's not very high frames per second or anything. Like, it's pretty low as far as that goes. But like,
It maybe gives away its age, but I still just seeing that kind of thing to know that the frames or the animation style sort of betray a film's age. It still reminds me of just the the progress of creativity and just the progress of how animation has grown over the past century.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I don't know, the imagery, even just right off the bat when the movie starts, is just it's so strange looking. Um, and like I get that, like, kind of like Molander said, like the world building is kind of lacking, but I kind of like that about this movie, and I've expressed this about some of the other movies we've watched where they don't explicitly state a lot of stuff, so it's kind of left to the imagination and kind of left mysterious, I feel like, on purpose, so you don't really know exactly what the hell's going on. And I don't know, I kind of like that. I've always liked that when a movie or a TV show kind of keeps you guessing and like why is the world set up like this? Like what exactly created, like the giants, for instance, like who created those and where did they come from and why were they so goddamn indestructible or whatever? And just all that kind of stuff. I really like it when a movie kind of leaves you hanging, like, well, not hanging, leaves it kind of up to your own imagination a little.
Oh yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Um,
So I'm trying to piece this movie together with the manga origins source material. Fucking, this movie genuinely feels like it could have continued to be a series if if I'm reading right and the manga was actually continued
oh, that would
to
have been great.
if the manga was still in production with Viz Media as I'm kind of reading it. into it, then this is actually a perfect movie just to set up a universe. But even though it isn't part of a film series, it still feels like here's just a peek at what this world could have been like if it had been continued. I don't know. That's
No, I hear you. And that would have been awesome. Honestly, I would totally have been down for more stuff set in this setting. I love the monster design, especially, and just the idea of the toxic forest, and then the idea that Nausicaa. Like, I want to see where it goes, because they obviously kind of leave us hanging, like, oh yeah, she's the chosen one or whatever, and she's gonna save everything. But like, how does that all pan out? Like, I want to know. And obviously now she's got an even bigger target on her head, right? So are the fucking Tolmekians going to come back and wreck her shit, or like what's going to happen? I don't know.
You
Good
gotta
stuff.
read the manga.
You got to read the manga. I really want to. When I was reading the wiki and found out that there was a manga that this was based on, like a few days ago, I was like, oh shit, I know what I need to start reading. So one of these days I'll sit down and grab that. It'd be cool to get like an actual hard copy of that. I wonder if you can even find them, or if they're like super rare or what.
It looks pretty readily available.
Yeah, okay.
I'm
Must be
looking it up
pretty. I
right
mean,
now.
Ghibli's just fucking huge these days, so you can get
It's
pretty
like-
much any of their shit.
You can get the first 7 volumes for like $45.
Nice. Oh, I might have to fucking look into that. Yeah, I wonder how much farther the manga goes than the movie. But yeah, let me see here. What else? Yeah, a lot of my notes are just like, wow, like these creatures are so strange and cool looking. Like the Titan-like humanoids are like so imposing. I love the old tinny sound effects like DBZ would use. Like a lot of the sound effects are very similar. Like I was saying earlier, like kind of crackly, not like the best quality, and like they don't necessarily fit perfectly, but it makes it fit because it's an old '80s movie. Like it's just something about it. Was Lord Yupo riding a chocobo? Because it looks almost exactly like a chocobo.
It was something like that, yeah.
And why does he have 2 of them? Is it just so he can swap between them? I don't know.
Or that's one of the mysteries that they're leaving it up to your
You
imagination.
could have been
bro.
out in the forest, in the jungle, rescuing the other one.
Yeah, possible.
Dunno.
Don't know. I like that she's like, they kind of allude to the fact that she's kind of an animal whisperer right off the bat, with how she kind of can like understand how the ohm is reacting, and then she kind of like gets it to bugger off, and then how she also kind of she just like calms the little squirrel creature, just lets it bite her, and she just doesn't even wince. I thought that was I don't know, like all that kind of I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say, guys, is I'm in love with Princess Nausicaa. She's just so fucking cool. She like doesn't give a shit, and she's like insanely nice. And I mean, fuck, man, when the airship comes and is just like in a crash and shit, she like does everything she can to help them, like risking her life to the nth degree just to help these people who she doesn't even know, and who are actively going, actively bad in the world. And it seems like the people of the Valley of the Wind know that, about the Telmekians and stuff. Like they know that other civilizations on the planet are pretty bad, probably. So
Yeah, she's the best of all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. Hence my love. I really liked that she had like a little secret room where she kind of had unlocked the secret behind the toxic jungle. That it wasn't that the toxic jungle was like cleansing stuff. She had already figured that out before they actually before they fall through the quicksand. And I don't think she like really understood it at that time, but like it was like as she was talking about it, down in her little secret chamber thing, like you could figure that out on your own just based on what she had been saying.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote actual Asbel Shia LaBeouf. um, the voice acting when I think it was one of the Telmekian or Pajit soldiers was like, "What do you got, soldier?" It was so fucking bad. It had me cackling. It was like, this is some classic '80s shitty voice acting before they even like knew, like like, oh, voice acting is like a legitimate job. I mean, they knew because obviously like Looney Tunes had Mel Blanc or whatever. That
Yeah.
guy's like
No, they knew Will. It's just he was probably giving it too much. Just didn't know what the scene called for. And I feel like the American actors probably, weren't watching what they were supposed to be, what their characters were doing on screen at the same time. And
right. I guess that's probably what it is that American voice actors are
They were
shitty.
provided the right context.
Although Patrick Stewart was great, he fit his character pretty damn well, I felt.
yeah.
And I liked Nausicaä's voice actor, although she didn't fit perfectly, I felt, but it was pretty good.
I mean, Patrick Stewart's a fucking theater actor. He's got
yeah.
He knows how to use his voice like a master.
He's just gonna crush it every time. Yeah, God, he's so good. I really like how the movie just kind of keeps ramping up to a certain point, and it doesn't really let up. It just shit just keeps happening and getting significantly worse and worse for like the main characters and the valley, to the point where eventually they're just dragged into a war against their own wishes, and then even though they don't really want to fight or anything, then at a certain point it just boils over and they just start brutally murdering the Tolmekian soldiers. It's like, holy shit, okay, well, I guess this is what happens when you fuck with some people in their land, when they want to be left alone.
It's a lesson on imperialism that we could all learn from, even today.
Yeah. See, this movie has a whole bunch of good shit.
No, it does, yeah.
I'm not defensive or anything, guys.
Do you feel like nostalgia plays into your love of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When we watched it, I tried to watch it very critically, and the entire time I had like just a little smirk on my face, like a little grin, because I'm like,
you can't help but be charmed by a movie that you've adored for so long.
I can't help it, like it's just, I don't know. And like I really do feel like I was being pretty critical of it when I was watching it, but like, God, man, it just, I don't know. There's something about Ghibli's movies that just draw me in and like and just chew me up and spit me out. Like even Totoro is like, which is like the most kid-like of his movies pretty much, besides maybe Ponyo. It's just, I don't know, I get drawn into his worlds, and then I'm in there, I'm just in there with the characters and in love with everything that's going on. I think one of the things that Miyazaki captures so well is just like the whimsical nature of a fantastical realm. And even in this post-apocalyptic fucked up world, it still feels whimsical and like almost kind of goofy in a cheerful way, which is crazy because obviously the setting is like a horrifying post-apocalyptic nightmare with humongous bugs that are just like man-eaters and shit.
Yeah, he's got more whimsy in his little finger than most directors have in their whole body.
Yeah.
And I think I liked My Neighbor Totoro because it was so quaint and whimsical.
Oh, you've seen that movie?
Yeah, I think I have.
I love that movie. It's such a children's movie, but in the best ways possible. Just release yourself to this silly nonsense that's happening and just go with it.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about it, but it's because there's like a huge character in it, and it's trying to fit into a small world.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
I wrote down Lord Yupa FTW because he literally just flies off the other ship into the fucking Pajit ship or whatever and just wrecks them. Fucking scene is so great. He literally just like glides off of it. He's and then just smokes all those dudes. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm curious about something. The flashback scene that shows Nausicaa in a field, and her father and a bunch of soldiers are there. And they sort of from what I saw, it's a scene where she's trying to protect like a young baby Ohm.
Yes.
And so, as far as I can tell, that scene was mainly just there to emphasize her protective nature towards creatures. Is that all that was, really?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just to kind of show us that she's always kind of been like an animal whisperer, like very empathetic to all living things. Yeah.
Okay. It plays like it plays like 45 minutes into the movie, so it's like I kind of already picked up on that, but I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing any other kind of message that scene was trying to portray.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you.
And I think that scene might have literally just been there for like Miyazaki to show off some animating, because like that scene, the way that
is gorgeous,
animated, yeah, and it's totally different from how the rest of the movie's animated too. So it might have literally just been him being like, "Here's my little artist's flourish. Like, just look at this pretty scene for a little bit." And also because, like, you know, a lot of people aren't going to pick up on a lot of this stuff when it comes down to it. I mean, I'm tooting our horns a little bit here, but you know, I don't think any of us are dummies. But there's a lot of people who watch movies who are not the smartest people.
I'm kind of a dummy. I am kind of a dummy. I'm the first to admit that I can't always keep track of what's going on in every movie I watch. But
a lot of people are playing vintage arcade games and drinking when they're watching.
Yeah. So they need it explicitly stated, like, oh, she's just always loves animals. Okay. Sir, do we have any orders yet, sir? Shut up, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, that was a good scene.
This movie does not have a lot of humor in it, but there was a couple scenes like that are pretty good. Let's see here. I fucking love the way that the animation is done on the giant warrior when it's like disintegrating and just gooping and falling down and falling apart. Holy shit. That whole scene is just fantastic when it shoots the fucking like laser beam that like nukes a bunch of the ohms. Fuck, dude, it's animated so gorgeously.
No, the creature and character designs in any of these movies is outstanding. Period.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a reason why they're so ubiquitous now, and just fucking everywhere you go, you're gonna see something Ghibli on somebody's backpack or their shirt or whatnot. I mean, you go into Hot Topic or Spencer's, and it's like half the things in there are fucking Ghibli, you know?
Yeah. And it's hard to say whether it's because the collection is so popular or it seems like even different characters from different movies that are clearly just have a different visual appearance, you can still kind of identify it as a Ghibli character.
Yeah, absolutely. I there's a couple movies that some of the people who used to work for Studio Ghibli have gone off and done on their own, and you can just tell just by looking at them, like, oh, this is a Ghibli movie. Oh, well, it's not, but oh, look, it's made by a bunch of the Ghibli people. Like, no wonder.
Right.
They just have a very, very specific style that, hey, it's fucking worked for them pretty well. So
it seems like there's some styles that are specific to certain stories or worlds. Yeah. Anyway. I'm a noob. I'm a fucking Ghibli noob, so I'm just entranced by what I'm seeing half the time.
Meaning that you're one of my favorite people, because it means I got a lot of good shit to show you, Knack. And I know you'll be able to appreciate them because you like that. I know that you like that kind of stuff a lot. So, I was thinking too when I was watching this movie that it had a little bit of heavy metal in it, like the OG heavy metal movie. Like, it just, I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously there's not
fucking... 1984.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not humongous tit citadels everywhere, but I mean, it fucking
early to mid 80s and has a pretty distinctive like animation style. The fuzziness, the frame rate, it's got its signatures.
It's kind of crunchy, yeah. I love how the Ohm avoid the giant corpse, like as they're like just stampeding over everything. They specifically go away from that, and probably because it's like fucking cursed or something. I don't know, but I thought that was like a cool little detail. Um, let's see here. I just kind of like write what happened. Like she sacrifices herself to stop their rage, and then they resurrect her. Yeah, I don't know. And then I just wrote like it's just a fantastic movie. I don't know. This is such a great like leaping off point for the Ghibli like franchise to begin. Obviously, if Castle of Cagliostro was like 4 year five, how many? 1979, I think. Yeah, so it's 5 years before this, but that movie isn't really indicative of like a lot of Ghibli's style. Like it is definitely a Ghibli movie, even though it's not. But also, it's not like his movies are a bit more whimsical than that movie, and fucking like more fantastical too. Like even his like serious historical movie like The Wind Rises still has a bunch of fantasy elements thrown into it through the deep dream sequences and stuff, and that's kind of his style. Um, and I fuck man, I love this movie. This movie is followed up by I'm pretty sure Laputa Castle in the Sky. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you what's your top three Ghibli?
Ooh. Hold on, let me find I gotta look at the list. It's been a little while since I looked at them. List of works. Damn, this dude's been doing shit forever. I guess I've never really went and looked at his.
Castle in the Sky, 1986.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the wiki page. Okay. Yeah, so Castle in the Sky, yeah, that's like the first Ghibli movie, and that's just 2 years after this.
That's
and
the OG, the original Ghibli.
That's the OG. And I mean Nausicaa is the OG for sure. Like it's everything that makes a Ghibli movie in every way except for the name that's behind it. But Castle in the Sky, fantastic movie. Draws a ton from this movie. I don't know. I want to know actually. I think that's based on a book that he didn't do. Written and directed. Oh, maybe it's just based on its own shit.
Okay. So where does that one rank for you?
That one's pretty high up there. I really like Castle in the Sky a lot. It features a lot of the same kind of whimsy and fantastical elements that this movie does. It's a little less hardcore in some ways, but it's also like a steampunky kind of movie and like post-apocalyptic kind of and that's part of what I love about a lot of his movies. However, I would say my favorite is probably Princess Mononoke. I think that the themes that are present in that movie just they're so well done. The animation is phenomenal. And fuck man, that movie is hardcore as fuck. Like there is some brutal scenes in that movie that he doesn't really ever come close to touching again in any of his other movies. They're all a lot more tame than that one. Which is probably a good thing because they are kids movies after all, or at least
there's some graphics parts in it and just like weird body horror in a way.
Yeah, like straight up like body horror shit for sure. You've seen Princess Mononoke?
Yeah.
And I think that was the first one that I saw as a kid too, and I was like 10 or 12 or something, and so seeing like those scenes, I was just like, holy shit, this is so cool. Like this is this is what can happen. What?
That's what you want. Yeah.
After that, it might be Kiki's Delivery Service or My Neighbor Totoro. I think both those movies captured the whimsy of his film style so fucking well, and they're so goddamn adorable. Kiki's Delivery Service is one of the like most quaint, adorable fucking movies you can watch. It's so good. but it definitely is like I don't know if Knacker would appreciate that one as much because it really just does not have a lot of like stakes or anything.
There's some flying around.
There's some flying.
Still appreciate something for what it is, not you know.
And the animation, of course, is always fantastic. That movie is great. I think you actually probably would like that movie. I think. And then probably Howl's Moving Castle. I love that movie. It just the fantasy elements, man. He does that better than anybody, in my opinion.
Wow.
I really can't.
Spirited Away doesn't rank for you.
Not in the top 3. No. I do love that movie, and I definitely rank it as one of the best movies ever made. And I feel like it's probably a better movie than like Princess Mononoke and a couple of these other ones. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little bit of a contrarian because a lot of people like that's the best one, right? And I'm like, no, it's not the best one.
For sure. And once you've dug into all these movies, then like the one you've seen the most, it becomes sort of, I don't know, too popular for you.
Yeah,
or you've seen it too many times, yeah. And
I mean, they're all great though.
Yeah.
The only one that I haven't actually seen is, or I don't think. No, I saw Porco Rosso when I was younger, but the only one that I haven't seen, I'm pretty sure, is Pompoko, which is the one that's about the like giant raccoon people who just carry around their ball sacks, which are like giant ball sacks. Like legitimately, that's the plot line of the movie.
Oh, really?
Which
right up my alley.
Raccoons, yeah, it is. Hey, Joe, we've got a movie for you. Ball sacks.
It's got everything.
Raccoon body horror. All right. I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard it's quite good. But all of his other movies are great, man. I mean, The Cat Returns is obviously like the Cat Returns is great. Whisper of the Heart is fantastic. The Borrower Arrietty, it's literally just like the Borrower, but done by Ghibli, and it's fucking great. He does such a good job.
Yeah,
I want to know the rest of Will's top 20.
Yeah, right.
Stick around for the next recommendations round.
Yeah, I'd love to watch more. Maybe we should cut Will off though.
Yeah, play me off now. No, yeah, we should definitely check. You guys should check all these movies out, and the like 3 listeners that we have should all watch them if they haven't. Ghibli is just good stuff, man. But that's all I got to say about the movie. I don't know.
Let's get into reviews.
Get our ratings in.
Yeah.
Or ratings, yeah.
Or do we have reviews? Are there people reviewing our podcast?
Well, that's what it is.
Oh my god, we have our first review. Oh, it's just Knacker.
Yeah, it's Beth.
Thumbs up.
We're gonna read Beth's review of everybody's favorite podcast.
I think I would give this movie like a 5 out of 10. I have trouble giving it things a 5 because that makes it sound mediocre. But I don't think this movie is mediocre. I just think that there's enough things about it that I don't like that it ends up being somewhere in the middle, rating wise for me. Namely the simplistic plot and the black and white characters and yeah.
I can definitely see that for sure. I don't agree with you, but
yeah, I know.
Have I made that abundantly clear?
What do you think, Nick?
You know, I see where your potential deductions come from. I'm gonna shoot. I'm going with like 7.5, almost a solid 8. I'd probably stick with 7.5. Just for the sake of I guess I'm deducting mainly for one of the same reasons. It feels like it could have. It feels like just a peek at something that could have been much bigger and more, just more conflict, more fleshed out. But I can't really can't really find anything else I don't like about it. It's
sure.
Still new to the
Will.
Ghibli scene. Yeah, it's an easy 7.5 for me.
Nice.
Yeah, did you like the movie, Will?
I did. We should probably mention Molander's rating though.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned it earlier. We didn't get Jeff's yet, but we'll get back to you, listeners. Cut in Jeff's rating here.
I'm not gonna do that. It doesn't matter.
Okay, we'll say that Jeff rated a 10 out of 10. Weird.
You know, it's possible. Yeah.
It's possible.
I feel like he likes anime.
Yeah, I know he loves this movie and all the Ghibli movies. I feel like he'll probably be more critical of it than me, but I do know that he digs on some Ghibli. So.
Nostalgia's a hell of a drug.
Fuck yeah. Molander gave it a 3 out of 10. We can just move on from there. We all agree that he's wrong all the time, anyways, right, listeners?
Yeah.
Joe, yeah. No. Everybody's view is
point
valid.
deduction because I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, you guys know what I'm going to rate it, 10 out of 10. This movie is fantastic. It has everything that I love in a Ghibli movie and then some. The world, I felt, was fantastic, and I like that it's kind of left a little mysterious for us. The animation's obviously phenomenal. The monster direction and like creation and everything is fucking just bangers, dude. They all look so crazy, and even just the way that like the ohms are animated for how they move in like segments during certain scenes is fucking awesome. The music's great. Voice acting was pretty top notch for the most part, besides a few soldiers. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. I love it.
Awesome. Well, it is my turn to pick the next movie.
Wonderful.
Correct.
Wonderful.
You always got bangers, besides that one time. The Irishman.
Oh yeah. All right. Since there's no constraints, no theme, no category, I get to pick whatever I want. I'm going with
correct.
The year was 1950. It was the end of the golden age of Hollywood movies. And Billy Wilder directs Sunset Boulevard. It's a film noir. It's a movie about the making of movies in a way. And it stars William Holden, who we just saw in Network, and Gloria Swanson. And I feel like if I kind of want all 5 of us to be there because this is such a great movie. I feel like everyone would appreciate it.
Yeah.
But that's probably not going to happen for sure. But what I wanted to say is I don't want you guys to like read too much about it. I know you wouldn't like read what the plot's about or anything, but this is definitely a movie that they've parodied on like The Simpsons and Alf and Animaniacs, and you probably know some of the plot points of it without ever having seen it. But
cool.
One thing I do want you to know is that the actress Gloria Swanson in this movie, herself, she is a former silent film star, and she plays a former silent film star who is sort of in her twilight years. Her star has already passed, and she's dealing with getting older. Like, that's all you need to know going into this movie.